about halfway through the decade, almost, and there's been plenty of films released, especially with the boom of streaming services allowing many directors, such as ourselves, to contribute to this wonderful medium. However, not everything that gets greenlit is gold. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are 10 worst horror films of the decade so far. Number 1, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I remember all the adventures Christopher Robin had with his friends, and all the fun they had in 100 Acre Wood. So to see this slasher film the way it was, just kind of destroys part of my childhood in a sense. We follow Christopher Robin as he is now an adult, just graduated from college, and coming back to 100 Acre Wood with his fiancée Mary. This is the first time he has ever brought somebody there, and the first time he's been there in years. And now it's all in ruins. Doesn't take long for the killing to start, as Piglet strangles Mary and takes Christopher. A while later, a bunch of college kids come up and rent the cabin. But they're not safe as Piglet and Pooh start killing them brutally as time goes on. There's one time where one of the college girls gets ground up in a wood chipper, where somebody gets decapitated, another impaled with a machete. They really went balls to the wall with the killing. But hey, it is a slasher flick. I feel like the whole movie could have done better if there was more of a plot than this whole "we were abandoned, so now we kill." Plus, the acting isn't exactly what I would call great. It's a little subpar. And to top it off, the first death in the entire film is Eeyore, which broke my heart. He was my favorite. There are some highlights though, such as special effects and cinematography, so that's a bonus. It wasn't hard to watch like some horrible horror films, but it just didn't do well for me. So judge for yourself over on Peacock, Fandango, Amazon Prime, Google Play, or Apple TV, and let me know your thoughts. Number 2, The Turning. This film was a box office fail from critics and audiences alike, but probably would have done better if they kept to the original story by Henry James named The Turn of the Screw. So, this story is that Kate is the new live-in nanny for the Fairchild children, Flora and Miles. Well, Flora witnessed their parents' death, so she is a little shut down emotionally. Miles, on the other hand, is just aggressive with everything, even to the point of being expelled from the boarding school he attended because he strangled another kid. The caretaker at the Fairchild mansion is just kinda creepy in her whole demeanor, but it works. Miles at one point offers to give Kate riding lessons as kind of a peace offering, but that's when Kate really starts to notice his personality. Eventually, we find the previous nanny dead in a pond, and the horse trainer is the culprit behind her disappearance, and then we get to the ending, which would be more to talk about if the sequences leading up to it made more sense. Sure, Kate's mother suffers from delusions and is in a mental institution. But are these hallucinations genetic or just a product of life or what? We never really know and left questioning that quite a bit. It left me wanting more and maybe even a better story to go along with it, but it did have an amazing score and some of the scenes are just done with such grace it kind of helped. I just feel like there's a lot missing out of the way it's portrayed. Sure, the film does have themes in mental illness, but it's poorly executed and could have been done with a little more compassion. So if you would like to check it out, you can do so over on Peacock, Fubu, Hulu, Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango. And let me know how you interpret the ending. Number 3, Jeepers Creepers Reborn. We know the story. Every 23 years, the creeper wakes up to feed. Well, this time, we follow Chase and Lane as they go to the Horror Hound Festival in Louisiana. Chase is into all things paranormal and urban legends, and he gets this fascination with the creeper, especially because it's the 23rd year. But nothing can happen, right? Guess again. They go to this festival, which is like really fucking weird, and the only thing scary to me there is the clowns. But they're creepy clowns. Anyway, they get the chance to go explore the area where the creeper is said to be, and all hell breaks loose. So it's Chase, Lane, a cameraman, and crew that go to the house, and that's where all the killing starts. It's a typical slasher flick that's so predictable. I much rather would have preferred it if they did it like a prequel to the original Jeepers Creepers, which would have been based more on a true story. But instead, the new writers and directors just made it into one giant slasher fest, with some not so good special effects. You'll see a thicker substance than water dyed red. Total giveaway, especially in this day and age. Even when the creeper breaks through a wall, you can just tell that that part of the wall was going to break. The acting was okay. Probably the best feature of this film, but it's still lacking. I've seen some reviews of people saying this is the end of the franchise, which I would not disagree with, but we'll see what happens. I mean, even the third installment didn't do that good, but this one just fails on so many levels. I was left wanting more depth, better camera angles, and a more fitting score. There's even a lawsuit going on right now about the rights to this film, as Myriad Pictures technically obtains the rights and was never notified of the production of this film. Currently, it's still pending, but we should know by the end of the year what this means for the franchise. Anyway, you can check this out, as well as the other 3 installments, over on Hulu, Redbox, Google Play, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 4, Umma. Sandra Oh stars in this supernatural horror film and was praised for her performance. However, the film itself was lacking with the screenplay, reliance on jump scares, and tensions on screen. Plus, the story is predictable and the audience can easily tell what's gonna happen, so there's that. The plot is simple though. Amanda, played by O, is raising her daughter on an isolated farm, raising bees and chickens, selling honey and whatnot for income. The daughter, Chrissy, has been homeschooled her whole life and wants to head off to college, but Amanda doesn't want her to go, claiming she needs to stay at the farm to help out. After all, it was all for Chrissy. Well, one day, Amanda's uncle arrives with the ashes of her recently deceased mother, and he claims she is angry. After the uncle leaves, spirits start showing up, and weird things begin to happen. Amanda sees her mother a few times, and there's other spirits that are there tormenting Amanda and Chrissy. After some time, and some really difficult moments between mother and daughter, Amanda forgives her mother and things go back to normal. I will say, the whole Korean aspect of the film is pretty good, and I would think close to what it really is, but I don't know for sure. So besides the actual story, that's just lacking in so many components, I did love Sandra Oh's performance, and the score in the film is put together nicely. So, check this one out over on Hulu, Sling TV, Google Play, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. And tell me either your favorite part or most hated part. I would love to know your thoughts. Number 5, Choose or Die. Similar to the film Stay Alive, we have this Netflix original. We start off following Hal, who is part of a dysfunctional family and has a hobby of collecting old video games, when he comes across Cursor and finds himself having to choose to do things to either his wife or child. Then we jump to Kayla, who's a college student, working as a cleaner to get through school. One day she finds an old video game at her friend Isaac's place and convinces him to join her in playing the game. Unbeknownst to them, it's about to turn deadly. The first night, Kayla is at a diner when the waitress has to either clean up some broken glass or die. But Kayla doesn't choose either, trying to end the game. The waitress does die though, by eating the glass. Well, things keep happening to Kayla, and then to her mother. Realizing the game has gone onto the internet, so now it's there forever. It keeps attacking Kayla and Isaac, eventually leading to Isaac's death, but she has to finish the game. I am not going to spoil this one. It just seems kind of fitting how they ended it, but still. This film is classified as a horror, but really doesn't have much scare factor to it. The acting is also done well, and the characters are portrayed in a good manner. But still, there's really no depth to them. Very one-dimensional in character development, but not horrible. Pretty predictable for most of it, and lacking of tension or any real emotion. So, if you want to disassociate for a bit, check this out over on Netflix.
Hey folks, sorry to interrupt, but we just launched our very own merch store at fatninja.shop. We sell everything from t-shirts, hoodies, mugs, and more, so we would greatly appreciate it if you checked it out. All the proceeds go to our future projects, so it helps us make any kind of movies and short films that we want to make in the future. So if you got time, check out fatninja.shop. Thanks again, and back to the video.
Number 6, Brahms, The Boy 2. So we all know that Brahms, The Boy was phenomenal. However, for everything that film was, this one isn't. It's a dry script, subpar camera talents, and just bad acting. It's just hard for most to watch. The story is good as we follow Liza and Jude, mother and son, after a burglary in their home that leaves them both traumatized. Moving to the country into a beautiful mansion with Sean, the husband. As Sean and Liza are exploring the mansion, Jude roams the property and finds a porcelain doll by the name of Brahms. Quickly, Liza notices strange things happening, and even seems freaked out by the doll and whatever is going on with it. One night at dinner, Liza doesn't get a plate for Brahms, and he gets mad. When she and Sean go to argue in another room, a loud crash is heard. And when they come back, they find the table flipped over, with Brahms still sitting where he was. But Jude writes that she shouldn't have made him mad. This really gets under her skin, and Liza wants to get rid of the doll, claiming something is happening to her son. Eventually, we find out the history of Brahms, and the possibilities that await the family if they don't follow his rules. There's even one part where Jude is playing with his cousin outside, when the cousin lands on some kind of spike and gets hurt badly. This film really would have done better with more colorful dialogue and better acting. Katie Holmes is really lacking here, even nominated for Worst Actress at the Golden Raspberry Awards. And a sequel is being talked about, but nothing really solid has come out yet. So we'll see what the future brings. In the meantime, check this out over on Netflix, Prime, or Fandango. Number 7, False Positive. Criticized for taking some themes from Rosemary's Baby, this one is definitely interesting. It received tons of mixed reviews, and most people saying it just doesn't translate well. It has a good premise and shows great promise if we could have had more. It's really not a typical horror film, but does get under your skin. But isn't that what the whole concept of becoming a parent is? Pregnancy is terrifying for some, and this one will help the fear. But let's dive in. We follow Lucy and Adrian as they have been trying to have a baby for years. Well, they decide to go to Dr. Hindle, played by Pierce Brosnan, to get some IVF done. And shortly after, she is pregnant, but also having some hallucinations. Hindle is that caring, protective kind of doctor, or so it seems. And we find out that Lucy is actually going to have triplets. Hindle advises that the couple go for a reduction, and they decide to terminate the twin boys and keep the girl. After some time, we meet the midwife who is telling Lucy to just take charge of what she has going on and face these problems head on. These hallucinations really start messing with Lucy, and it all cultivates towards the end, which is even more creepy. But the film just lacks that suspense you want. Hell, even a couple jump scares might have been good somehow, but I digress. Pierce Brosnan is probably the best aspect of this film, as he really gets into character. And somehow he can pull off that egotistical god complex driven doctor almost too well. So head over to Hulu to see this one for yourself. Number 8, Demonic. We're talking about the 2021 film written, co-produced, and directed by Neil Blomkamp, where he returns to his roots of low budget and grand ideas failing to mix together. In this film, we follow Carly, who cut off ties with her mother after she committed some heinous crimes, murdering a ton of people. During some violent episodes Angela had while in prison, she ends up in a comatose-like state, locked in her body. Well, that's where this experimental company comes into play, and has Angela hooked up to some kind of simulation, which Carly would be able to enter. When Carly arrives in the simulation, she is quickly shunned by her mother, telling her to get out now. The second time, Angela really tells her to leave in a different kind of way, claiming it's not safe. After this, Carly decides not to participate anymore, as she's having nightmares now and kind of hallucinating. We also find out that the Vatican is behind the experimental company as the means to end demons. Carly doesn't take too kind to this, finding it unbelievable at first, then really starts to get it when things start adding up. Like a similar cut appears on Carly during the second simulation experience that was once on Angela, or the whole sanatorium fiasco, and then the demon possessing others as time goes on. The ending is even subpar, almost unrealistic in some ways. But it would have been a good film had we had better special effects, lighting, camera angles, and acting. The whole idea of a mother being possessed and then committing these crimes, to find out that the demon is actually able to attach itself to a different human at random points, could have been better. I feel like it was predictable, kind of overdone, and just lacking. But you can watch this over on Fandango, Google Play, Prime, or Apple TV, and let me know if you agree or disagree. Number 9, Dashcam. Rob Savage is a genius when it comes to scare tactics, and this one will be up there. But you're wondering why Dashcam is on this particular list. It's mainly because the main character is just not likable, making for the story to come undone. Typically, we like our main characters, but Annie Hardy just seems like that kind of girl you just don't like. We follow Annie as she drives around LA during the height of the pandemic, live streaming what's going on around her, which honestly makes me not like her from the beginning. Anyway, getting sick and tired of what she has to deal with in LA, she goes over to London to stay with a friend and his girlfriend. Well, one night, Annie and her friend get into an argument, and she takes his car to do a job for him. He is a delivery driver. And ends up at a closed restaurant where she is instructed to take this woman, Angela, to a specific address. Annie again is live streaming, and at one point they have to stop at a diner to clean up Angela, where another woman comes in attacking Annie. She escapes and Angela is with her. And then things just randomly happen. The friend shows up breaking into his car. This woman is after them, trying to kill them. eventually ending up at the place where Annie was supposed to take Angela in the first place. I won't spoil the ending, it'll give you something to look forward to. But overall, Annie Hardy just overplayed her part and just destroyed the story. This movie did get a lot of mixed reviews regarding the screenplay, but mostly negative about the acting. But you can see this whole story over on Hulu, Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango, and let me know if you like this one. Number 10, The Invitation. Critics have slammed this one, saying it's too predictable, throwing in the same tactics for scares over and over again, even claiming that people who startle easily will quickly become immune to it. This one does have a lot of potential, but just ended up barely making it. Too much unneeded talking, dialogues running dry, and the chemistry on screen does not flow. But let's talk about it. We follow Evie, who after the death of her mother decides to do a DNA test. When she finds out she has a very distant cousin in England and wants to meet with her. He ends up inviting Evie to England to attend a wedding in the family, and she reluctantly agrees. Upon arriving at the beautiful manor, she starts to notice that some of the maids start to go missing, and Evie becomes suspicious of the butler. Evie also becomes infatuated with the lord of the manor, and everything is going according to his plan. Well, it is revealed that he is in fact a vampire, claiming to be Dracula. The ending is pretty good, but the whole film is just not there. And honestly, I was really kind of mad at the ending, similar to my reaction to La Llorona. Sure, this film is inspired by Bram Stoker's Dracula, but he would be turning in his grave if he ever saw this version. I see how they want to put a modern twist onto the classic story. However, there needs to be a certain finesse to make it good and memorable. Dracula is the original vampire we came across, and to let it go like this? Anyway, the acting is pretty good, and the manor is gorgeous, and the cinematography is decent. You should check this one out on Netflix, Prime, Google Play, Fandango, or Apple TV, and let me know if you like that ending. Thanks for checking out the video. Did we leave any films off the list? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. Make sure to check out our very own merch store located at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go towards our next film project, so we'd greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Jamie. Thanks again. See you in the next one.